Hey guys, so today I want to discuss scientism or positivism, which is the notion that science is the only way to truth. It's the only way we can obtain truth. It's the only form of reasoning we can use to obtain truth. This obviously presents a lot of problems. And the first problem is that there is a confusion between scientific explanations and rational explanations. So I have a book here from John Lennox, Can Science Explain Everything? And I want to read this small paragraph, which I think elucidates this distinction quite well between scientific explanations and rational explanations. Suppose you ask, why is water boiling? I may say that heat energy from the gas flame is being conducted through the copper base of the kettle and is agitating the molecules of the water to such an extent that the water is boiling. Or I may say that the water is boiling because I would like a cup of tea. We see at once that both of these explanations are equally rational. They each make perfect sense, but they're very different. The first is a scientific, and the second is personal, involving my intentions, will, and desire. What is also obvious is that the two explanations do not conflict or even compete. They complement each other. So we can see that there are scientific explanations and there are rational explanations, and the two bleed together. They don't compete, they're not in conflict. So that's the first problem with scientism. So the second problem with scientism is this confusion between scientific hypotheses and metaphysical demonstrations. So we can think of scientific arguments as starting from empirical premises and drawing probabilistic conclusions. We can think of mathematical arguments starting from purely conceptual premises and drawing necessary conclusions. Now, metaphysical arguments combine, I argue, the two. They combine both forms of reasoning, right? So metaphysical arguments start from empirical starting points and certain conceptual premises, and we draw necessary conclusions from that. So we shouldn't look as if we're throwing away metaphysics, right? Both forms of reasoning are crucial to reach a coherent picture of reality. So that would be the second problem with scientism. Now, the third problem with scientism is that scientists just take things for granted, right? The scientific enterprise itself is predicated on metaphysical assumptions, philosophical presuppositions. They take for granted that there is a world outside of our minds. There's an external world that exists outside of my mind right now, right? There are objective patterns and regularities within the world. Numbers exist. The laws of logic exist. Our cognitive faculties are functioning properly. The language we use purports to some kind of truth. Scientists must presuppose all of these things before they even begin to engage in the scientific enterprise. So this is something they really, really take for granted. So in closing, scientism and positivism are metaphysical positions. They can only be justified through metaphysical arguments, right? And if we look at people like new atheists, Richard Dawkins, for example, he has this dogmatic allegiance toward the scientific enterprise. And as I've said, this runs into all kinds of problems, right? He will claim, for instance, that natural selection is the ultimate reason or explanation for our existence, or that science has disproved God. I mean, these are colossal category errors, and they arise from the confusion, that I've already stated, but more so this dogmatic allegiance to science, that science is the only way to truth. There is no other way. So there's a reason that Albert Einstein said that scientists make poor philosophers, and he's absolutely correct. Although I have profound respect for scientists, and we should use science to influence our metaphysics and to give us, better pictures of the world, we cannot rely on science itself. It's a self-defeating position, scientism. So we should reject it at all costs and, combine a little of everything, use several ways to attain truth. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video and take care.